Hello everyone, my name is Steph Williams and I am a magic maker for hobby hoppers. This month's project is this adorable Christmas card. I can't wait to show you how I made it. To get started, I'm going through all of my stamps. Today I've decided to go with some cute little kitty cats, some little lawn fawn people, Santa hats, presents, little toys, just everything I needed to make a really cute little Christmas scene. This Joy to All stamp set is one of my favourites from the new release. I just love that big Christmas tree and I was so excited to use it. I'm also using a few dies, some stitched rectangles, stitched scalloped rectangles, my fireplace die, my new window die, and some of my little frames that came out a really long time ago. I'm also using my Let It Shine paper pad. My first step is getting out my card base, and these are available at Hobby Hoppers. I'm not trimming it down today, I'm going to be keeping it at this size. Here I am playing around with my placement. I knew I wanted the window to be on the front of the card, but I also need to cut the hole to see through the window, and I didn't know if I wanted my window to be higher up the card, did I want it to be down the bottom. I knew I wanted a sentiment on the front, so I had to account for that kind of placement, and I also wanted to be able to see the Christmas tree through the window. So I had to make all of these things work together before marking out where I wanted to cut this hole. I made some marks on the front of my card with my pen, and from here I cut this hole out with my X-Acto knife. I cut two of the window frames out of some black cardstock, and as you can see right through this window, and I'm going to be using some acetate between these layers. Just before I stick them on, I wanted some more detail on the very front of this card. So I'm using my brick stencil by Lawn Fawn and my Manatee ink. It's a very light grey, and I'm just dabbing that all over to get a subtle brick effect. I didn't need it to stand out too much, but this card was stark white. And the front is very plain in comparison to the inside, so this is just to dress it up a little. I'm going to be using this really beautiful cream with gold foil dots from that paper pad. It's going to be my wallpaper on both sides. I measure it to fit my card base and trim it out. To stick this down, I'm using my tape runner because this is the one that is a semi-permanent adhesive until you leave it for a while. So worst case, if I stick this on crooked, I have a little bit of time to pull it up and rearrange it. I've cut these pieces of paper so that they leave a small gap in the very center where my card folds, and that's just so things don't get too bulky. There is a lot going on with this card, and I really didn't want anything interfering with the folds. So I have seen cards similar to this all over the internet, but I haven't really looked at any tutorials for this or downloaded any SVGs to make this a bit easier. I kind of went in a bit blind. So all of these steps, at least in this video that I've edited and I'm showing you, all of this is in what I feel like would be the best order to do it in. And I think that's what took the most time with this card, was deciding when to stick things down. Can I put this here without it interfering with future steps? So hopefully if you do follow this tutorial and make this card, it will take out all of that tricky guesswork, as I did find this one quite time consuming, but it's so worth it in the end. As you can see, I've cut out the hole for my window out of my pattern paper now that it's been stuck down. And now is the perfect time to add my window. I've put some glue down on one of my window frames and I'm adding my piece of acetate that I have cut to fit it nicely. After sticking that down, I'm then going to attach this whole piece to my card base. On the inside of my card, I'm adding that second window frame that I cut, making sure that I line it up perfectly so that you can't tell there's two. It just looks like a neat window frame on both sides. From my second largest stitch rectangle, I cut some plain white cardstock, and from my fireplace die set, I used this piece to cut out the hole. From here, I'm going to be adding my brick stencil once again to this, as I really love that detail, and I'm going to be using black ink. I've seen this on another card on Pinterest and I just thought it really stood out. It looked wonderful, having those black bricks, or they could be black tiles, with the white grout or cement between it. It's just a really cool look, and I was hoping to pull it off today. And I think I did. It looked really nice. Moving on to my stamping. So I've got my Christmas tree, those cute little kids, a bunch of presents and kitty cats, a whole heap of cute things to set my scene. While I was making this card, I knew that I wanted it to have a lot of dimension, and so setting up my scene as an open kind of 3D room was a huge part of that dimension, but I also wanted to do something a little bit different with my cats and my little children, and I'll show you what I mean by that soon. Time to get colouring. So as always, I'm using a mix of Copic markers and alcohol markers to colour all of my images in. I'm not going to colour in all of the second Christmas tree that I have stamped, kind of just halfway down, as that's all you're going to see from the front window. Because these trees, thank you Lawn Fawn, are symmetrical, I can stick them on the back of each other, which gives me also a really good idea for one of those spinning cards that I might have to write down before I forget. Maybe that'll have to be my next project. So while I'm here and colouring in, I thought I'd remind you that this video is my project for Hobby Hoppers this month. I've had a big month with Hobby Hoppers. It's been really, really exciting. Just last week I did my first ever live craft show, which was terrifying and amazing. That should be uploaded to YouTube soon. It won't be on my channel. It will be on the From Picture to Page and Beyond YouTube channel. I'll be sure to let everyone know on my socials when that is available. But it was so much fun. I made some really sweet and simple Christmas cards. And I did it all in a very timely manner too, which is very different from the usual cards that I make and the time it takes me to make them. And in saying that, I thought I would say that although this card does look super complex and there is a lot going on, and I'm telling you that it was time consuming, what I love about this is that I noticed as I was folding this card up in the end is that there's like 3 different cards here. The front of this card, that cute window with the tree through it, that could be a card. The inside with the fireplace, that could be a card on its own too. The Christmas tree on the inside with the kids under it would be another beautiful card. So I just hope that no one looks at my videos and thinks that they have to copy them completely if they ever want their things to look like mine. You can most definitely take bits and pieces and turn it into beautiful projects yourself. In fact, I love this card so much in all the elements, I will probably make Christmas cards from all of those scenes. It'll be a lot faster than making this one over and over again. So I have coloured in those cats to look very much like my own cats, Bonnie and Lexi. And these little kids, today I've coloured them in to look like my children. And honestly, I get borderline teary when I look at them because they're just so cute. I've coloured them in the same outfits that they wore last Christmas, which was my daughter's first Christmas. She wore the sweetest dark green onesie that had Christmas cookies all over it. And I did share the photo on Instagram because I really feel like this stamp looks exactly like my daughter. It's kind of weird how much it looks like her. And when I coloured it in, the onesie to match hers, it just looked like her even more. So I did share the pictures of her as a little one in that onesie and the coloured image here. And someone commented that her onesie looked like the Lawn Fawn cookies from the How You Been add-on set with the Christmas cookies. And they were 100% right. It really did look like that. And maybe that's why I was drawn to buying that onesie in the first place. But I just loved making these 2 little ones look like my kids. It just makes this whole scene so much more special. And it's totally something that you can do too with your kids, your nieces or nephews, your grandchildren. I'm really torn with this card as to whether I keep it for myself or maybe I send it to my grandmother in Sydney. We won't be seeing her for Christmas this year. And I thought maybe this sweet little 3D scene with her great-grandchildren sitting in it would be a really cute little thing to send to her. But I think I'm going to have to make multiples of my children because I'm having a hard time thinking about sending them away. But not only the kids, this scene is perfect for cats, like I've got my cats done here. Or your dogs, or whoever the recipient is, maybe their pets. Or maybe just a really cute scene. You could pop a couch in there and have that propped up instead of glued up against one of the walls. You can do so many things with this. It's so exciting. So here I am adding some white details to my images. And very exciting news, Hobby Hoppers is going to be stocking Jelly Roll pens from December. Which is just amazing because I love Jelly Roll pens so much. I'm really glad Trish is stocking them so I know who to be grabbing them from in the future. Today I'm using my 0.8 and my size 1. To make my fireplace look like it's glowing, I'm just using the excess ink on my orange and red brushes and just going in circles on a black piece of cardstock. I'm actually surprised at how well this worked. I really like the look it gave. I'm going to be sticking that black cardstock on the back of my fireplace bricks with the little fire wedged in between. So here I am sticking all of that together. I just love how that turned out. After that, I then glue my black mantle on top. And I've got a few cute things I'm going to stick to that too. While I'm here, I'm going to stick my trees together. And as you can see, I've already trimmed this one down, as I didn't need all of it, and it would just be too much to line up and get perfect, and make sure nothing is hanging over the edge. So to make it easier for myself, I just trimmed the bottom off. While I'm here, I'm also going to add the stars on top. I love this tree. I know there's a few trees across a few different lawn fawn sets, but there's something about this one that I really like. I think it's the size and how wide it is and all the decorations for it. It's just so cute. Moving on to decorating more of my window, I've got the curtains from that window die set, and I've cut this twice from some red cardstock, and I'm going to be layering them for a little bit of dimension and just so what you see through the window isn't the back of a die cut. It looks like the front and it looks nice and neat. While I was gluing, I had a moment, and you can see me just have a little meltdown here. I put way too much glue on this. I didn't take note of where to put the glue because you're going to be seeing it. Like I had just said, you're going to be seeing this through the front of the window, and I went and put glue all over it. Lucky I could save it. It was no drama. It was just a bit annoying. So I do have to be careful here where I'm gluing because I don't want glue stuck to my acetate. It just isn't a nice look having glue on it. You can kind of peel it off once it's dry, but I feel like it does leave marks. So I try to avoid it where I can. I learnt my lesson the first time, and for the second curtain I'm being much more careful. And I know it's just the first of lots of details in this card on the inside, but I just loved putting those curtains up because from now on it just comes together as this really cute little room. For my skirting, I'm just using some dark brown cardboard scraps that I had in my scrap box. And I've cut 2 of them to make sure they're the same size, as I'm going to have that on both sides of the inside of the card. Here I am playing with the positioning of my Christmas tree. I didn't want it dead center. I felt like that looked a little bit funny. So I'm going to have it slightly off center. And I'm, of course, making sure that all the coloring is visible from the outside of the card and that none of that white is showing. Now to decorate my fireplace. I colored in a bunch of these cute tiny stockings from the Joy to All stamp set. And I'm going to stick them across the mantle. I've just put one little glue dot down for now, but as that dries, I'm going to sneak a little bit more glue under the rest of the stocking so that they're adhered really well. I coloured this in off camera because I feel like I've done enough colouring in this video. This is part of the fireplace die set, and I've just coloured it in green and added some little white details to it. I'm going to have that go across the top, and I'm going to add a cute little bow. Now to start setting up the other side of the room, and what I've done here is I've cut some white cardstock, and I've cut it just so that there's a little bit of the card base going around the edges. I didn't go all the way to the edges because this card is going to be folded and I was worried that it would then get pushed out, if that makes sense. And I've cut this to be just a little bit longer than my card base so that I have this extra little fold. And that is what's going to sit down the bottom and allow me to fold this piece up so that it sits nicely within the card. I'm using some tea dye Distress Oxide ink to colour in my flooring for this card. I really like this brown. I feel like it makes the best grounds, dirt, sand, flooring. But to add a little bit more texture to this, I'm using some walnut stain distress ink with a wood grain stencil. You're not really going to see too much of this floor, but I feel like it just adds to it. It's just another thing that makes this card look well thought out. So here I am gluing this piece in, and I was a little bit nervous for this because I hadn't made a card like this before. I was just really hoping that this would work and it would all come together nicely, and it did in the end. So here is that other piece of skirting that I cut earlier, and I'm going to lay that over the piece that is stuck to the card, so it's hidden. Just looks a bit neater. And there we go. It actually all worked. I let that sit to dry for a while and didn't play with it too much because I didn't want to mess it up. After a little while I came back and it was now time to stick my fireplace in. So I've got my cute little kids in this card, and I thought, it's a bit sad that we're not in it. There's no stamps that would really work for that, and that's okay. But I thought, kind of to represent myself and my husband, I've popped up 2 little hot drinks on the mantle of the fireplace. So we're there somewhere, most likely taking the photos and cleaning up wrapping paper. Now that my scene is mostly ready, it's time to get these little characters ready too. So I'm just adding little Santa hats and some presents around and in front of the characters. So the kids have toys and the cats have little presents. Maybe the cats are exchanging presents too. It's a little bit cute. I can't imagine that personally my cats would exchange presents. They'd most likely bop each other on the head and try to run away with it. But it's a really nice thought that they would share something. I had a few leftover presents, I was really hoping that I would, and they're going to go under the tree just to fill out the scene a little bit more. With my floor hanging out just a little bit longer than the wall of my card, I wanted to fill that space with something, but I didn't quite know what. But I thought a long sentiment would look really nice there, and I'm going just with a plain Merry Christmas and being really brave here, stamping directly onto it rather than having done this step before I glued everything in, and it looks really cute. For my little characters, to stand them up, I'm just sticking some clear strips of acetate on the back of them. Once this is dry, I'm then going to score and fold the acetate so that it's kind of in an L shape, and that props up my characters. I was considering doing this out of maybe cardboard or something, but I thought acetate works best because it's clear. You can't really see it in the photos, and I really like that. Everything is now very quickly coming together, and the front of my card was looking just a little bit plain still, so I whipped up another one of these cute decorative pieces from my fireplace die set, and I'm popping that on the front. I'm also going to pop a little red bow from my Bar Humbug stamp set in the middle of this. I'm not sure if you noticed earlier, but there is quite a gap above my fireplace, and I was trying to think of a way to fill it. Whether it be with like a little portrait or a photo or another decorative piece, I couldn't quite work out what to do, but I ended up settling on this. I've got a cute little piece of red cardstock here, and I'm using one of the decorative pieces from the Winter Messages stamp set, and I'm using some gold embossing ink on this. I like the idea of using the gold because it matched all the little dots on the walls of the house, and I'm simply going to pop this in a black frame. It's not really anything, it's just decorative and sits above the fireplace. You might also notice at this point too that I have a rug on the floor. I did try to record that, but my phone died as I was recording. But it was a really simple step. I just used one of my stitch scallop rectangles with some red cardstock, the same one I'm using for this little picture, and I've laid that on the floor just to fill in that space. It makes the whole room feel a little bit more cozy. Using my stitched scallop rectangle again, that is such a mouthful to say over and over, I've cut a piece of red and white striped paper from my Let It Shine paper pad again, and I'm sticking this on the bottom of my floor. I know there's a lot of pieces and there's bits and things stuck everywhere, but they all serve a purpose. So this is for a bit of a background for when the card is shut. As you can see here, just having the front of this card and the fireplace scene on the inside would make a really beautiful Christmas card. I just had to go over the top. And this is the last step, I promise. I've got my tag from the Hearts and Stars skinny tag set, and I'm stamping Season's Greetings onto that with my gold embossing powder again, so that it matches the elements on the inside. After heating that, I tie some red string to it. My phone stopped recording for some reason, which is always fun, and then I stuck it down on the front of the card. So it's okay that little bit of footage is missing, because here is the setup of the card from start to finish. I hope you have enjoyed this project. It was a bit of a big one, but it was so much fun creating it to share with you. Don't forget to check out Hobby Hoppers, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this project. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.